The floor is yours.
Wonderful. Thank you, Oliver. Appreciate it. Good afternoon to everybody, and possibly good morning for quite a few people too. My name's Ted Hemmelgarn, and I'm the regional manager in the lower Midwest area for DENSO Robotics. As Oliver mentioned, today's agenda, this will be a very brief webinar. We're going to do a quick industry update, cover the ROI calculator, and we're going to do an actual case study on what an actual robot that was hauled out of service, and they did the math on it to give you a per hour cost to run the robot. So if you like this presentation, you can email me. This is my email address. You can take a quick picture with your phone, or as Oliver said, you'll be getting this a little bit later in a email. So with that, let's just jump into the industry update. This information is actually pretty easy to come across. This is on the RIA.org website. RI is one of the great associations that is related to robotics, but back in February, they published that robot orders were up about 1.6% compared to 18. It's a very small growth, but as we know, if you're at least in the Midwest, the automotive industry actually kind of slowed down a little bit in the fourth quarter. So the revenue in 19 was about 1.6 billion. Just a couple years ago, it was down to 1.3 billion. So there's definitely growth in the robot world. Looks like the biggest driver was in the automotive assembly plants. That's where the biggest increase in orders were. Plastics were down, rubber down, and some of the tier plants were down single digits. And it mentions there in the third paragraph that 19, the weakest quarter was the fourth quarter. So I also put a little blurb in here. This is with IFR, the International Federation of Robotics. And these are the top 5 markets, which represent 74% of all the global robot installations. The good news is that the US actually went up a notch. We're actually third in the world comparing countries with robot installations and sales. This is another quick update from the IFR. If you look down at the trend down here, now, of course, we know 2020 is going to be an exception. This was released before the pandemic. It goes back to September. It came out of an A3 meeting. Oh, I'm sorry, this is the IFR. What's interesting is out of the president's report, and if you look at this, we're going to be flat probably this year, or maybe even down a little bit. But the prediction for 21 and 22 and ongoing are definitely a growth in annual installations of robots. So more and more industrial robots are being accepted and being installed. For your information, robotics sales represent about 10%, only 10% of all the industrial robots sold worldwide. So hopefully all of us can make that grow faster. I'm going to pop over. We're going to jump into the ROI calculator. All right. This is a little calculator. I borrowed a lot of this information from the RIA website, but we can email this to you. You can put on your own template, your own logo, whatever you'd like to do. But, we all know that typically when we're working on a robotic project, especially first timers, these are big capital equipment projects, and somebody up top, CFO level, has got to approve these sales. They're anywhere from 25 to several $1 million. So this is a nice tool you can use to put together, do a quick sanity check to make sure this is the right thing to do, and also include this to your proposal to management when you're ready to start on your robotic project. So typically you put your project name in here, a date, and then we've got some customer. All the customer really needs to do, the engineer, is fill in these highlighted fields. Right here, maybe you've got your quote from your systems integrator, machine builder, maybe you're doing an internal project inside the company. So typically you'll just fill in these little fields right here. We got what's the total cost of the robotic system? Maybe it's 200 grand. We're gonna have the robot. We need about 2 robots to do this project. We're gonna run about 2 shifts per day. Actually work maybe 6 days per week. Maybe they have a plant shutdown. Maybe they're only working maybe 50 weeks a year. And what I see from an operator level is anywhere from $12 to $17 an hour. We'll use $12 an hour. Now this number here, this is the number that a lot of people forget. As engineers, we forget to include this number as a part of the budget. But when you talk to a plant manager, a CFO, somebody in HR, you'll find that the fringe benefit cost for a typical operator around this price range, around this hourly wage, about $17,000. I expand on this. You'll see all these notes. We're going to cover that on the next page. But at $17,000, that includes, insurance premiums, 401k contributions, tuition reimbursement. There's a lot that goes into that component, but it's a real number. I've seen up to $30,000 for this number right here. So we're talking about helping out with the number of operators that this might replace, might be 2 operators per shift. The annual maintenance labor cost. Typically, this is expressed in these formulas. It's kind of, you're going to have a maintenance person working on this robot, possibly an engineer teaching some points here and there. So what I wanted to do, and it's actually explained in the note, is it's basically a percentage of the maintenance salary. Maybe he's a $50,000 maintenance guy. He's going to spend 5% of his time annually working on the robot. So, again, we're trying to prove to the CFO we've really thought this thing out. We know that it's going to cost us an extra $2,500 maybe a year. This number here is a productivity savings. This is something, again, I explain it more in the note. What you're going to save in, the robot can work through lunch hours, the robot can work through break times, it can work in between shifts. So that's a number if you feel, or the customer feels, that it's something we ought to measure. Let's take a look at that. Let's add, maybe it's only $1,000 annually. And then the other estimated annual savings, this is typically going to be a scrap number. Typically we've had a particular customer we delivered a robot to, and the customer told us that their return on their investment on their robot was going to be 3 months, just due to the scrap reduction rate. And we followed back up within a month or 2, and he said, yeah, it'll pay for itself in 3 months. So this is typically going to be maybe a scrap number. Say we put $1,000 in there. Calculate. And now what we found out is this is what our typical annual hours are. It's our annual cost for laborers. This is 4 people. And we figured that robot system from this $200,000 cost, the payoff, the return on investment when you're going to break even is 13 months. So a little bit over a year. We've got this next tab. If you click over this next tab, what it's done is we've taken our system's cost. We've run this through 15 years. That's typical for a DENSO robot. Our annual, this is one of the great benefits of DENSO, is we don't have an annual software renewal cost. So it kept this whole column in zeros. Not all of our competitors can say that. They do have an annual software renewal cost. There's another great benefit for our annual maintenance cost. It's extremely low compared to a lot of our competitors out there. I ran this number. It's kind of hard to estimate an annual, but talking to our service manager, we ran what he's seen over the years, what an overall cost would be on a robot at the 7-year mark, maybe 15-year mark, what it's going to cost, 10-year mark to place some belts, maybe a motor, grease it up, get it going again. So This is something you got to kind of tweak this one in. I put this cost in here. This is assuming about 30 cents an hour to run a medium-sized robot. Is right around 30 cents. A big robot might be 50 cents to $1 an hour. But we want to, we're showing the CFO. We've actually spent our time, and we're actually looking at what's going to cost for the electricity. Then we put the labor savings. This column here is typically what they're going to see in a savings in labor. This is the cumulative amount right now. That's a great number to show them. Here's our product savings annual. And here's our scrap. And this is what each year, looking at each year, what your savings are going to be. And this is the cumulative cash flow. This is as you're building up. So quite honestly, you can tell the plant manager, I'm going to save you almost $3 million over 15 years putting these two robots in to do the work. That's a staggering number, but being DENSO and being the largest consumer and user of industrial robots, we've got quite a few years experience doing this, and this is a realistic number. Here's some of the notes, just so you know. The total note number one, if we go back to the sheet, this is our total cost for the robot system. This should include your installed costs, training, safety, everything that needs to go into it. Make sure you get a good number in there. I only took in an account an 8-hour day. We know a lot of times in manufacturing facilities, it's not always an 18-hour day. Sometimes they get paid time and a half. So, if you're really going to roll this thing out, you might need to take that in consideration. Again, we only take in straight time. It doesn't include any overtime compensation. Note 4, the industry average. Company paid retirement benefits, health and dental insurance, workers' comp. A lot of us as engineers forget that with every employee that's employed by a company, they have to pay workers' comp. There's also vacation time. If somebody's taken 2, 3, 4 weeks of vacation, the company still has to pay that person and then backfill them with somebody else. So that's a real cost. And there's sick time or PTO days. So that $17,000 is probably a fairly generous number. Like I said, I've seen $20,000, $30,000. And we list the productivity savings. We take that account. That's where savings could be realized. The robots work faster than humans. There's no breaks required, and they work on weekends. We've got a customer that recently bought a robot that wants to they're going to run the robot on third shift when nobody's there. So they don't have to pay somebody to work on third shift. So this robot's just going to load him up right before third shift, and then he's going to work all throughout the night. Great productivity savings. Again, as we mentioned, other savings would include scrap reduction. And I want to put a shout out. Like I said, a lot of this material can be found on the RIA organization, but this is a tool that you can download. We can save it. We can save it and send it to you, and you can use it however you'd like. Put your own logo on there and help the accounting folks realize that this is a great return on investment. It's a great investment. So with that, we've got an actual case study. So this is an actual case study we actually did in one of our own plants. This is one of our old RC3 VSC robots. It was installed in Athens, Tennessee. Pulled the plant out. Oh, you see the actual date that it was put into service in 2003. Total run hours 45,500. That turns out to be about 5,687 shifts. Pulled it out of production in 16. Original purchase price $20,000. The maintenance performed over the 20 years turned out to be, again, this is a great thing about DENSO robots, just under $7,000. And with that, our calculations, the total cost of ownership per production hour is 59 cents an hour. So, that's a tremendous, once you show that to a plant manager, this is what your cost is, plus some electricity, a little bit of maintenance, guys, be a little bit over that, but that's a significant savings over the time frame of the usage of this robot. So again, just in summary, if you'd like, please don't hesitate. I can send you this information. That's my email address. And I'm going to open it up. I want to thank everybody for showing up today. If you've got any questions, please let them out. Oliver, I want to turn it back over to you.
All right. Thank you, Ted. That was terrific. Good information. Let's see here, see if there are any questions. Oh, so it was mentioned by Lonnie in the beginning. Thank you, Lonnie, for mentioning it. I stated that there's a link in the chat to all our other webinars, and I guess it didn't pop up, so I reposted it in the chat. Let me know if you don't have the link. Other questions? Doesn't look like we have any questions right now. Are there any questions from anybody? I'll post the link again. Can you go back, Ted? Can you go back to the ROI calculator sheet?
Sure.
Just wanted to see. 13 months, yeah. Yeah, what about a year in ROI is a great rate of return, definitely. See any other questions? All right, it looks like we don't have any questions, so thanks again, Ted, with your presentation, and Ted will get back to everyone and email him. He'll email you his PowerPoint presentation, probably the ROI calculator too, Ted?
Yes.
Yeah, and then we'll send you a link to this recorded webinar as well, so you guys can go over it on your own time. So thanks a lot, Ted. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Oliver, and thank you, everyone. Take care. Have a great day.